people are arguing online about two different topics as of lately.
What's the topic people are arguing about?
The first stupid topic. Oh, I shouldn't say stupid. Oh, that's dangerous.
The first wildly stupid topic, as you said.
First and foremost, there's various D&D YouTubers who are freaking out because they're not getting their views on their channels.
They're not getting views?
They're not getting enough views.
Okay.
First and foremost,
are we taking from their viewer base currently? Are we overly treading and we're kind of stealing?
Yeah, we're displacing poor Dungeon Craft / Professor DM and
gosh, I'm sorry, my guys.
But anyways, as it happens, we don't hate you at all, guys. What happens is basically every time the TTRPG hobby transitions from systems to system, or edition to edition, there is this weird lurch motion where some people decide, no, I'm not doing 2024. That is not Dungeons and Dragons to me. I don't care about that content.
So they just want to do their 2014.
I'm staying 2014, or I'm going with the OSR. I'm going to go ahead and find something like, what is this Osric thing? Oh, that's really cool. Or Shadow Dark, awesome.
So they're trying different modes or different games.
A darker, grittier version of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition that's even more rules light.
So
that's really cool.
So you're saying that people are they're finding they're getting less views because those people are broadening their horizons to different systems?
Yeah, and they're just moving off. And when you...
That's, I think, a good thing for the space in general.
Yeah, it's a good thing for the space. But the problem is that you got YouTubers who built their whole thing on a certain system or a certain type of content.
Yeah.
And the problem is that there's a certain point, depending on what content you choose as a YouTuber.
Yeah. The whatever niche you lock yourself in.
Yeah. The fan base literally just simply achieves a certain level of knowledge in that topic, and they no longer need to follow your content anymore.
That makes sense.
In the case of Man Shorts, it's all comedy. It's a comedy channel.
Yeah.
It's a really old, that 70s show?
Yes.
Where they sit around the table?
Yeah.
It's that setup.
Okay.
Where they basically tell a joke and they turn to look at another person and they add to the joke and they turn.
Yeah.
Add to the joke and they turn.
Okay.
And I'm purposefully pausing because I'm actually trying to replicate the pacing.
Oh yeah, I got you.
Okay, so now modern late millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha have such short attention spans that they can't really enjoy, well, they walk into the parlor and they turn to a next person and, I'm going to go up to the bartender. And then they turn to the next person.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm going to then see if I can pickpocket someone or something like that. And it's too paced out.
Yeah, for them to focus.
There's not enough stuff popping up on the screen. There's no video game running right below or something. And they just lose
Subway
attention.
Surfers.
Subway Surfers.
They just throw it on there.
So much. Just like 5 seconds, just put a section, just download Subway Surfers and just have just right there. And
I'm just sitting here on my phone the entire time we're doing this.
Or you just clip out a moment of your RuneScape if there and just stick it there so people can see what's going on for 5 seconds. That channel is shrunk, is not getting anywhere near the content it used to be. People have mentioned something about WebDM, which is one of my WebDM. It's gonna be really hard because WebDM kind of stopped producing stuff after 2020 on their YouTube channel. They actually went to more of okay, I have to explain the whole thing.
Yeah.
Pruitt at one point when they went to their Weird Wastelands Kickstarter.
Okay.
They had so much extra work loaded on because they were literally doing an entire book.
Yeah.
For a supplement to D&D.
Okay.
That Pruitt basically got that dreadful feeling when you make your hobby into a business.
So they didn't enjoy it anymore.
He didn't enjoy it anymore. It was now a job. You clock in, you clock out kind of thing. And his fun and it just died on that. So he had to go on a sabbatical, and then Jim had to take over the channel.
Okay.
WebDM's format is very similar to Dungeon Dudes, and kind of like what we're doing with this channel, where they sit around a table and they talk about topics, games. But they specifically did a lot of high role play, game, more theory, history, stuff like that, where they would talk about the lore of goblins and themes you can get into with goblins and different TTRPG systems every so often. And like horror theme for Halloween or something like that. And a good chunk of the awesome of WebDM was that Jim was a very more straight-laced person. He could tell like very funny jokes, but he was very flat in his delivery. It's a dry joke kind of guy. But exceedingly knowledgeable. He knew tons of things about tons of different TTRPG systems, like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay and GURPS and so many other things. He was just a walking encyclopedia. And then Pruitt was the more new person into TTRPGs, but he was still fairly experienced. But he loved word puns. He loved telling jokes. He liked messing with Jim a little bit on some things. He liked zinger or Jim ever so often. So Jim would actually be like a straight man, and Pruitt would bounce jokes off of him.
But so Pruitt fell out of love with D&D after working on that, and then so he took over. So
and then Jim had to take over.
Jim takes over. So then they haven't uploaded since like 2020, you're saying?
Like 2021 or something. They haven't really. They kind of just do now like a podcast.
Okay.
And I don't even follow that. But anyways, it basically turned into Jim standing in front of a camera and explaining a theme to the party. And he's very dry. He is very funny and very insightful. But yet again, he talks a lot slower than Pruitt.
And then he doesn't have the charm of having Pruitt there.
And he still has charm, but it's just you don't get that interaction between them. And so many people, it's a night and day a different show without Pruitt there. And Pruitt basically would shake up Jim a little bit with his jokes and puns and stuff like that, and bring a little more energy. And Jim grounded the show more.
They needed each other.
They needed each other very much. And that show basically went away. And some YouTubers are basically like, see, WebDM is no longer around. They fell out.
You're way out of shots, you know.
Oh my goodness. They know I moved out of shot on purpose. Purpose to be a metaphor to the situation. But anyways, WebDM is no longer around. Well, they're not around anymore because Pruitt basically had burnout. And Jim, very knowledgeable and very good. And go ahead and go back to WebDM and watch their old videos. They're very insightful. Although they are very high theory in TTRPGs. So it takes a little bit of digesting at times.
That makes sense.
But anyways, still good content. But it totally changed the dynamic of the show. And many people could think of like a few times when a YouTuber decides they're very popular and they decide to sell their channel to someone else.
Adjust the format.
Sell their channel to someone else, and that someone else might show up. They might be perfectly good.
But it's just not the same.
And then they are trying to cover the same thing as the original person, but it's not the same thing. It doesn't jive with the audience. They come to WebDM to see Pruitt and Jim interact with each other and lay pearls before them. And once you have that break of like no longer having that experience, people just wander off. So that's the issue with that. Then people also mentioned, Cody from Taking 20, he's no longer doing YouTube. What he's doing now is he's a real estate person.
That's a shift.
he was always a salesman on his channel. But what really happened was that he actually got into a war with his fan base.
Oh.
He was one of those people that shifted over from Dungeons and Dragons to Pathfinder, and he was one of the few people that also covered Starfinder. He had Starfinder Week, and he also had Wrath and Glory,
Yeah.
which is a Warhammer tabletop role playing game.
Yeah.
On his channel,
but so he shifted focus, and
he kind of floated around that, but he did fine with that. He shifted around, so he managed to pull off shifting systems successfully. But what happened is when he shifted to Pathfinder 2nd Edition, he had a moment with his players where his players mentioned something about repetition in their play style and a few other things. And for whatever reason, that sent him into like a hate spiral of Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Yeah.
So then he made a video explaining why Pathfinder 2nd Edition is not essentially a good system. And it has illusion of choice.
And it created a rift between him and his viewer base.
Yes, it did. And then various other YouTubers like Rules Lawyer and various other ones made very deep videos. And keep in mind this is really early on in Pathfinder 2nd Edition's history that that people still didn't entirely truly understand how the system plays out. So what Cody did is he made a set of videos that basically is like you guys are all wrong.
Okay.
You're dumb. Pathfinder 2nd Edition has illusion of choice outright. This is demonstrations of how to play Pathfinder 2nd Edition. The math is terrible, even for the Ranger and so forth. The problem with that is that he basically, as a person, ran Pathfinder 2nd Edition like you would run Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition.
When it's inherently a different game.
Yeah, it's a different game. The important thing with Pathfinder 2nd Edition, that this is a really important thing that everyone should memo down, is that Pathfinder 2nd Edition has a stronger emphasis on team composition.
Yeah.
It's sort of like imagine you played World of Warcraft. In Dungeons and Dragons, you don't really have to worry about team comp. You can play it a little bit more like a single player game where you build your
Everyone picks whatever they want.
Yeah, you pick your really nice build. You just roll right in. You deal your thing. As long as you are really proficient at doing your thing in Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition, you do pretty well. In Pathfinder 2nd Edition, you have to be more tactical. You have to understand how the other players are going to play in the group.
Yeah.
Because if you, as the barbarian, just run straight into that group right over there, all the enemies are going to circle you, and it doesn't really matter if you are really powerful as a barbarian. You're going to get chewed apart in seconds because the enemies will...
They have all that advantage of all of them around.
They'll stack up bonuses on you. They will basically start critting the snot out of you because you had like this crazy moment of deciding you wanted to be an island of damage or something like that.
Yeah.
Where in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, you need to actually like stay back. You have to coordinate. The spellcasters are like, we're going to throw these debuffs on these guys. World of Warcraft style.
Yeah.
You throw some debuffs on the sucker.
Yeah.
Or you position your tanky people in front. The enemies move up to you to spend their actions to getting to you, so you can actually lock them in place on the right spot. And then you have your healers healing and your spellcasters casting over the top, and you just locking down people and throwing on debuffs left and right onto the enemies is to weaken them. Trying to avoid enemies from getting around on your marshals to like pin them down.
Yeah, to get to the healers or whatever. Yeah.
So it's really important to have good team comp in Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
We'll have to try Pathfinder at some point.
It's on the endless list of things to do. I'm like almost entirely all there. I just keep getting side distracted with other side little projects and stuff like that.
That's fair. I feel like there's already, I believe, a good program for handling your characters on there. I wonder if there's a good dice bot for it.
Last time I looked up a dice bot for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, they were still the guy was still looking for beta testers.
So we probably just have to use like the manual, like rolling things and applying modifiers. But no, definitely got to do that. I don't know if it's something I'm going to use for into video, but maybe we'll include this. So that the idea that you had mentioned on the topic of the rift between the content that the person has always made and then they shift, and now they're doing this other thing, and now there's a large amount of their audience that isn't interested or are angry or whatnot. I'm not going to say the channel. I'm actively watching that play out with this channel of this person who wonderfully talented. They do piano covers of basically everything. They've got, I don't remember what the thing is where they can hear something. They can just play it, right? Mm-hmm. And they'll, like, they even did it with, I think, like, Through the Fire and the Flames, right? Mm-hmm. So that's been, like, their niche for a long time. They've streamed it. They've done YouTube of it for a very long time. And they've started shifting now that they're, like, 6-10 years into doing this and grown up more and changed priorities in life, and now they've started to shift into worrying more about doing adult content and advertising that into their like YouTube stuff, not so much in the music related stuff, but in their active posts all throughout. They're linking scandalous style photos saying to go check out their OnlyFans or other things, which is created this massive rift in their community of people who are against it, people who are for it, when it's not the content that they're originally there for.
That's a situation where you should just go and make another YouTube channel.
Yep. And
just put it in the community section on your YouTube channel. Hey, I just created this new channel.
Yep.
If you want to follow me on that.
Well, the thing is,
for this content, you go over there, and then you follow me for that content, and then from that channel, you spider out into new Discords and new other things like that. And if you want to be in that community,
but no, it's currently getting posted primarily to the main channel. Mind you, it's not any of the more scandalous things, anything like that. Nothing scandalous is being posted besides photos saying, "Hey, go check out more over at this place." But they're still uploading the music stuff. But it's turned into posting, like, not even just passive-aggressive, but actively aggressive posts, calling out their community, angry with them whenever their community gives any backlash towards anything. So it's now created this, like, creator-community fight in this rift like you were talking about.
Yeah, with Cody.
Yes.
20. Yeah. But yeah, that's a messed up situation, and I would have suggested go and make another channel.
Yep.
And contain that over there.
As a spectator on the sidelines, my gosh.
Yeah.
There's no judgment myself to the creator. Do whatever you want, right? But that's okay.
There's a true danger. Some YouTubers are perfectly fine with starting fires in their community.
Yeah.
The problem is, this is found out in psychology and everything else like that there's several critical stages that the communities go through when stuff like that happens. Yeah. And this is really important for other YouTubers who might be throwing rocks to boost up their metrics.
Yeah.
There's this magical critical range where people get really irritated with you. Or something, not you.
Yeah, specifically. They'll post content about their things, and then it makes you feel angry, so everyone's mad at me.
Yeah. Anyways.
It's really been a terrible aspect of my life. Just random people around the world are all just angry with me, and I don't know why.
But anyways, there's this critical level where you'll get extra boost from people being angry and posting, "Why are you doing this?"
Clout posting or whatever. Yeah.
And there's rage clicks and stuff like that. But there's a point. There's a literal level, maximum level of rage and agitation that people could have.
Yeah.
For something, and then they become inured to it.
Yeah.
They no longer care about it, and they literally just leave.
There's actually a really good CBG Gray video, I believe it was CBG Gray, on the topic of content and it creating anger and people's opinions thereof on it, and about how I can link the video, but basically it comes to a lot of times you come to two sides. Let's take politics, but not go into deep politics. You come to two sides, and then these two sides end up having this thing that they really don't like about the other side, and then they basically create like hate idols of the other side constantly, and then they keep on making up things for their idol, saying that they're doing this thing, and they get madder and madder, and it doesn't matter like how correct the thing is, it just matters that it makes them madder, and then with that it's going to get shared more and then make more people angry, and it's just this virus of hatred.
Yeah, and that is true. It is very true. There is, like, as I said, there's a critical point where that goes to a point where you have a split. You either have people who are so enraged that they go crazy and they commit violence. Or they go to so enraged that they just have to then reject it all. And then they leave. A problem for like a YouTube channel or something like that is if people get super pissed off and they fall into either category. First category, you get swatted and you get terrible things mailed to you and you get attacked on the street. The other like one
credit card offers mailed to you.
Credit card offers. Okay.
Sorry.
Alrighty.
I throw every tangent.
Okay. But anyway, a good thing I have this hand right here.
Yeah, it's a reminder.
It's holding the thought that I need to move over in this direction. But anyways.
Let me rip that away from you.
But anyways, then there's this other critical level where the rage hits a peak and they just like, this is literally not worth it, and then they leave. You got like two variants in that where they just like, they literally purposefully ignore all your videos. Which is really bad for your metrics, because all of a sudden YouTube sees that there's this large group of people who literally used to be super big fans of your channel. But literally will not click on anything you post. And then YouTube is like, this YouTube channel has now gone into a death spiral. And then you're dying.
So that's actually something that you actually got to be mindful of with channels, especially older ones, where let's say the community is almost like, let's say you have a small channel and it's got like 500 to 1,000 subscribers and you don't post on anything for like 8 years, whatever, right? So now you have a large amount of subscribers that are inactive. If you're posting things and now they're not going to watch it because they're from like 8 years ago, whatever, they're not going to watch it. Well, YouTube's going to look at it and say, oh, you've got 500 people that care about seeing your stuff, but none of them are going to go look at it. So it's not going to recommend your stuff because your audience doesn't care about it.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, it's actually better to just make a new channel.
Yeah.
Which is also why, let's say if someone's posting shorts or something like that, why they should actually be, there's a button you can select to make it so it doesn't send out anything that you post to your audience. It doesn't put it into their subscriber feed, anything like that. And then it'll put it to just random people, which is better because it's not counting against your inactive subs.
Yeah. Yeah, the inactive sub part is a problem in itself. Which is also why you don't want to just like, say like post a link to these videos on, say, like your 8-Bit Anti channel. And say like, hey, everyone, absolutely come over and subscribe to my channel.
Yeah, because if it's not content that they care about, then you should absolutely never.
Well, it's not just the whole, they ignore it too, but some of them will do that. But some people will subscribe to your channel just because they like you as a person, but they don't care about the content. So they count as a dead subscriber on your channel. And then it drags your whole thing down because...
Which is worse.
Yeah, which is worse. So, there you go.
It's a crazy algorithm.
Yeah. Then there's Guy Sklanders, who is from How to Be a Great GM. Yeah. He is a actor. He's fairly decent. He gives a lot of general advice on acting in tabletop role-playing games, like voices and themes and stuff like that. The problem with, say, something like his channel is that it's a style thing.
Okay.
Which counts as a niche within a niche within a niche within a niche.
Yeah, which it's so hard to get any kind of growth there.
So he had a large growth over the years when D&D uproared or surged.
Yeah.
And then you end up with a situation where enough people watch this channel, they are entirely new to the TTRPG hobby.
Yeah.
This might apply to other YouTube channels as well. And they hit a critical point where they've learned who they are as a dungeon master or a player. And they basically, that I enjoy doing it this way. This person, I used to watch tons of times when I was new. I was just binge feeding, being on knowledge, just trying to learn what I was going to do as a dungeon master.
But now you found what your
you found what you want to do, is. And you no longer have a real reason to want to watch him. And then you get to the point where, like, you watch some of his videos and, like, he will go off onto side tangents about his adventures around the world and stuff like that, because he likes to travel and stuff like that, and he's an actor, so he'll ham up the camera telling stories about his life. And when you, just like before when you mentioned it, when you wander off the topic of your channel a little too much, and people get upset about that, and then you end up with also a situation where you have a audience that might have wanted to learn new stuff from you, but you also recycle stuff too much. Or this is I know another YouTuber who basically does this, where he recycles topics way too frequently. And you get into a video and like, oh, this story yet again. You've been on YouTube for like 10 years. You're a nice guy. I like you. I'll help you out. But you'll recycle the same kind of stories or the same topics over and over again. And whatever is the most recent thing, you'll tell the same news story like 5 times or 10 times. And you get to a critical level where people will just ignore, because they're going to like, oh, you're telling that story again.
No, I know that story.
You go and you lose a person like that, and now you have like a person who actively ignores your videos because you tell the same story, unless it's obviously something that says like something else,
something new.
Yeah, this is entirely new, obviously. Then you'll like click on it, so you get into that situation. You also have, say, like Professor Dungeon Master, who is what I can define as, he's a very knowledgeable person about classic D&D. He is really good at crafting, making really nice battle terrain and stuff like that. The problem I found with him is that one of the things he does sort of a lot of sensational news stories now. Like, oh no, Wizards of the Coast did this thing again, or something like that.
We should start posting that stuff.
Or oh no, Wizards of the Coast canceled Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing, and
we should clickbait. You're right.
Clickbait the shit out of people. But eventually you get to a point where you do that too much and you peeve people off. Yet again, tying back to the previous thing, the other problem for him is that his channel he's very talented as a crafter, but weirdly enough, he's developed into sort of a lazy crafter kind of situation, where his newest his 4th edition of his Ultimate Dungeon Terrain, where he came up with this whole system where explaining how to craft original dungeon terrain and stuff like that, and then iteration, all the way down to there's this disc that has rings on it, and it's a zone system. So now it's a homebrew system for your Dungeons and Dragons experience. So instead of using the actual built-in rules of the system,
now you're doing whatever this is.
You're now using a zone system, which is like, it's neat, a neat idea, but now you have niched your...
Yeah,
you
and
have
now at this
big...
point, you should be just pitching as its own other thing and
Yeah.
not even relating it to D&D so much,
Yeah.
or at least doing it as an expose to a style.
Yeah, but it's a niche within a niche within a niche, but it's also a cross-section niche where it's like two different niches from two different directions come in and overlap themselves.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get a whole lot of views when you go ahead and do shit like that.
That makes sense.
And I think I just used up your profanity word for the video.
That's okay. We're looking at probably 5 different videos here. We're fine.
Yeah. But anyways, you get into this niche within a niche situation, and people will just start skipping over those because they literally don't care about your crafting videos at some point, because at some point you taught them the really good skills a long time ago, and you just got down to just a super simple system that also at the same time is a homebrew rule system for another system
that they also specifically have to be building objects for.
Yes. So yeah, you kind of niched yourself pretty hard with that. And then you also cover a whole bunch of OSR products, but not always the biggest ones, but also the biggest ones as well.
Okay.
So it's whatever works at the moment, and which incidentally, the OSR is really cool in itself when it comes to different flavors and theories of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
The problem with OSR is also it's 1,000 different niches hanging out with each other in the corner situation. And yes, Shadow Dark is super popular right now, and I do agree it's really cool. But yet again, how many different OSRs do you need?
Yeah.
How many OSR systems do you truly need in the space? Always a few new ones here and there. Every so often you get a new one that has some really new, interesting tastes with them. But yet again, people at some point, people have already made their decision. They've decided to go with Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Yeah. Or
they went with Shadow Dark. And introducing them to another OSR system like Deathbringer, which is his own personal OSR TTRPG system.
So there's actually a bit of an overlap of this as well, by the way.
Yeah.
There's similarities in other scenes as well besides just TTRPGs. It's the same thing in the MMO scenes. Right now, pretty much, it's like 90% of all MMOs at launch right now are dead on arrival.
Yeah.
It's a wildly large waste of money for lots of companies to even try and produce an MMO right now, especially because a lot of the people that are going to be playing an MMO are generally already locked into what MMO they're going to play.
Yeah. And a similar thing is also happening to live service games too.
Yep.
In the same kind of vein as Paladins and Overwatch, stuff like that.
Yep.
You get something like Paladins has some support but it's struggling, and then you get something else that's thrown in on top of that like Concord. It doesn't fit the flavor that most people like, and they I'm already playing Overwatch, I'm already playing Paladins, I stuck a bunch of money into it already, why do I want to try Concord? And it doesn't look as nearly as good as the ones I'm already playing, and it doesn't offer anything truly substantial that actually is like matters to me as a person.
Yeah.
So why bother? And then you get like, the live service thing is dead, and then you get like Marvel Rivals that shows up and like, hey,
and everyone's in.
Yeah, everyone's in, and you have sometimes you just have to like do a quality one. Sometimes the scene is dead, and someone shows up who actually cares about the IPs.
Yeah.
And actually cares about making it look awesome and play awesome, and people jump on that. Same thing with TTRPGs. Same thing with MMOs. I'm gonna say Warhammer, but it's not Warhammer, it's Warcraft. Which is funny, I think.
Warcraft falls into the MMO of a lot of people are locked into playing that. Yeah. Or Final Fantasy, is it 13 or 14?
14.
14, and then old school RuneScape, and I think there's there's a
Ages
Lost.
of
Lost. You're talking about Ashes of Creation.
Ashes of Creation.
That one's. I think it's kind of doing okay right now.
And then
I
there's
think
Guild Wars as well.
Lost Ark has fallen off, and I think Guild Wars is more fallen off.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not a lot of room in the space, and you really have to shine to be in the space, it seems.
Yeah. It's at the point where you can't just stick a marketing gimmick on top of it.
Yeah.
And half finish broken game onto the service.
They've done that too many times.
They've done that too many times. People don't want to put the money, put $100 into or $150 or $250 into a Founders Edition of something, and then find out that the game flopped hardcore, and they basically have this dead weight of all this merch for this thing that was going to be the next big thing, but only lasted 6 months.
Because an absolute flop. Because
yeah,
they just didn't focus on the core foundation.
Yeah. So yeah, we tangented into a tangent into a tangent into a
that's
tangent.
Okay. I'll call it there.
Well, but yeah, there's that last little detail, but yeah, generally there's a lot of D&D YouTubers right now that are kind of panicking, just wrapping the whole thing back together into a nice little bow because we just tangented and we have to remind people.
Yeah.
But a good chunk of it is that people just getting into too many micro niches.
Yes.
That compete with each other. When you have people who only want to watch your news content and not your other stuff, when they ignore your other stuff, it counts against you.
Yep.
When they want to watch your other stuff and you make a lot of news content, they ignore the news content.
Yep.
And then that counts against you. You recycle your stuff way too many times. You tangent off into things that are completely unnecessary to the topic at hand. We try to at least keep on tangents that are actually related to the territory. You know, tabletop role-playing games have a deep history with video games
and
MMOs. And MMOs are a major part of the video gaming scene.
Yep.
And same thing with live services and how the companies treat their platforms and products. And how people react to it is very important. And sometimes stuff evolves. Society and culture evolves to a point or adjusts itself to a standard that the formula you used to have no longer works anymore because you're literally a dinosaur of an era bygone. But then there's also times where people shift over into something else for a quick buck.
Yeah.
And that jumping over to a quick buck irritates and pisses off all your hardcore fans that truly loved something that was truly special about your content. And in which case then you now have a war within your fan base, which is good if you care about money early on.
Yeah.
But it eventually will consume itself.
Yeah, and then tear everything apart.
And tear everything apart, and then you got your little bonus boost in your content for a short period of time. But then eventually, in like 5 years, your channel's like nothing, and no one gives a crap about you anymore. And I think I just used a second one.
That's okay.
And then you're gone.
Yep.
And you kind of have to leave YouTube for a few years or Twitch or whatever, and then maybe come back and do something entirely different, you know?
Yeah.
Make an entirely new channel.
Yeah, it'd be like that.
Yep. So there you go. I do believe we covered that one.
Yeah.
We gave everyone a bit of history, too.
There was a lot of history. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, we call it there.
Yeah, the call out there, but there's that disturbing pattern of money making people do stupid things.
Oh, that's absolutely true.
Corporations, individuals, I do
that just tears the business apart.
I do like the awesomeness of like people inventing stuff and getting compensated for inventing stuff.
Yeah.
And that's just amazing. It's a great system. The problem is some people go too far in the wrong direction and they ruin it for everyone.
That's absolutely true. Oh my god, the amount of the patent system, with the amount of people that just like patent things and then don't build that thing, so that when someone else makes something similar to what their idea that was, then they can sue that person.
Yeah, patent trolling.
Yep.
Copyright trolling, patent trolling.
Anyway, before we go off another tangent, we gotta call it.
Too many tangents?
No, not too many tangents.